On this episode of Survive and Thrive 8791, I welcome Mark Bardenwerper to the Buck and Honey's remote studios. At just 36 years old, Mark went from feeling crummy to facing a life-changing triple bypass surgery. His story is a powerful reminder to listen to your body and never ignore the warning signs. Join us as Mark shares his journey of recovery, resilience, and rediscovering what truly matters most. This will be a good one. Here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What is up wherever you are, whatever you are doing? I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to another episode of Survive and Thrive 8791. I'm your host, Coach Decora. We are in the Buck and Honey's remote studios on the east side of our great capital city of Madison, Wisconsin. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and YouTube at Survive and Thrive 8791. You can follow the podcast and get access to previous episodes on Facebook at Survive and Thrive 8791, the podcast, as well as, I believe, YouTube and all of those other ones. You just scroll down and you can go to something that you want to that appeals to you. Don't forget to hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you listen to the show. Leave me a comment if you liked what you heard. If there's a topic or you know guest who would love to share their story, email me at tdecora@gmail.com. Glad you could join us. Our mission is to share stories and conversations that make you cry, laugh, and think, stimulating emotions, creating laughter, and inspiring the mind. A new episode will air on Monday and Thursday morning featuring a wide range of guests. The podcast will touch on many subjects such as, but not limited to, grief, loss of a loved one, recovery, professional setback, mental illness, success despite challenges, etc. Our guests will share how they learn to survive and thrive. I have a conference reminder. Before I introduce our esteemed guest, I'd like to highlight the upcoming Survive and Thrive 8791 Mental Health and Recovery Conference taking place right here in Madison, Wisconsin. Join us on Wednesday and Thursday, October 29th and 30th at the Ho Chunk Nation Madison branch office. This powerful two-day event will feature several speakers who will share their stories through mental health and addiction and recovery challenges and how they've learned to survive and thrive. You can register for the conference on our website. If you're a business or an advocate for mental health and recovery, we invite you to partner with us through sponsorship opportunities. Our website is surviveandthrive8791.com. This is our guest and episode intro, and according to the internet, and the internet is always right, correct,
yes,
Mark?
Sir, of course. Got to believe it.
Yes, sir, of course, got to believe it. Well, in my house, Mark, I don't need the internet. I don't need Siri. I don't need...
Are you married by any chance?
I don't need any of that. I got my wife, and she's always right.
Of course.
Of course. While specific data on the number of young men with exactly 98% heart blockage is not available, medical research indicates that severe heart blockage is in young men are uncommon, but increasing. Today's guest is among the young men to experience heart issues at a young age. Today, I welcome Mark Bardenwerper to the Buck and Honey's remote studios. Mark grew up in southern Wisconsin, and he said he moved around quite a bit with his family. As a young guy, he would graduate from Fort Atkinson High School and is a proud Blackhawk. After high school, he would take his talents to the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, where he would earn a degree in creative writing and a minor in history. He would start his career in education in Milwaukee or in the Milwaukee area / school district before settling down at his current school, Watertown High School. Today, I'm so glad he could join us. Mark Bardenwerper, what is up?
Coach Decora, man, thanks for having me. I appreciate you inviting me on here today. It's good to see you again. It's been a while.
Dang, it's been a while. Yeah, this goes all the way back to Concordia University of Wisconsin out of Mequon, proud university.
Yeah.
And you and I got lumped in a room for about, I want to say 60 of the 88 evenings.
Yeah.
Taken through that cohort of leadership, educational leadership and curriculum and instruction. And that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was fun to share that time with you.
How was your summer? Because we're in the thick of the fall now.
It's great, man. I'm a blessed human being. I'm coaching still, and I did a lot of stuff with the wrestling program. Coached my daughter's 9U softball, actually 8U at the time, softball team with a buddy of mine. Got to go on a nice little trip out to Colorado with the family, a road trip, which I always enjoy. So I'm big into travel and just spending time with the family and doing sports-oriented stuff with them. So it was great. I'm a lucky man. When
I think about that trip to Colorado, I did that once.
Yeah.
And that was the last time because, how was the weather on Highway 80 through Iowa and Nebraska?
Yeah.
That was brutal.
That is a stretch, man. I have learned to enjoy it, and I've done a lot of long road trips and such. That's tough when you have 3 kids in the car complaining.
And you're going straight for like 500 miles.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned to somebody jokingly one time that if you fall asleep on Highway 80 through Iowa and Nebraska, I think the worst thing that could possibly happen would be you might lane change.
Yeah. I don't know. It's especially Nebraska. Iowa's at least got some hills and some, but I enjoyed Nebraska. I'm not knocking on Nebraska, but yeah, it was quite a trip. So it was good.
So we just finished the NLCS, the Brewers against the Dodgers. Were you like me in pulling for the Brewers, the Euchre effect?
Yeah, I grew up, that was my first love. I thought I was going to be shortstop for the Brewers, and at the time they were terrible, so I thought I could actually do it. I wasn't a very good baseball player, but they weren't very good, so they've always been my first love. But I got done and I reflected. It was frustrating. I watched some of the Ohtani miracle game like with my college buddies, and I thought of what Coach Ryan said on his podcast 2 for You, and it was like, hey man, we got there. We did a lot with what we had, and we should be grateful for that and continue to build on the success. So I'm trying to take that mindset, but it's a little fresh right now. It stings a little bit.
Yeah, some people have asked me, kids, a lot of former students and current students have said, Mr. Decora, Coach, why are you such a huge Milwaukee Bucks and Milwaukee Brewers fan?
Yeah.
And is it because of the recent success, blah, blah, blah? I said, no, I grew up in the late 70s and early 80s, and the only thing that was worth diddly squat in the state of Wisconsin were the Brewers. And I remember the 82 World Series.
Oh, yeah.
And I was not around for the 1971 Bucks. I was alive, but I just don't remember. But the Bucks were always really good. And now it seems like everything's always good except for Badger football.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I was there for the lows of Badger football. That was the first big sporting event I went to. Was the Hall of Fame Bowl down in Florida. And so I've always been a Badger fan. It's tough right now.
It is tough right now. Before we get to your story, I need to talk about our sponsor. Our sponsor, Buck and Honey's Restaurants, are a place that people can escape to. For me, it's a great escape from cooking dinner. Do you cook?
I love to cook when time allows. I like to, make something special for my family and try to impress my wife a little bit, try to give back, So, yeah.
With their great food and drink menu, 5-star customer service, and a welcoming and vibrant atmosphere, people keep coming back with locations in Sun Prairie, Monona, Waunakee, and Mount Horeb. Most communities in Dane County, which encompasses Madison metropolitan area, can get to a Buck and Honey's within 10 to 15 minutes. Got a little drum roll here. Have you been to Buck and Honey's?
I was lucky enough to go. We come up for youth wrestling state every year. And, my buddy that I coach with, we made the right choice and went there one night and absolutely loved it. We probably could have stayed a little bit later. We enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, it's right over by the Alliant Energy Center.
Yeah,
and close by. And you can get there by boat. You can get there by car. I've never seen anybody by horseback, but yeah, you can walk, and it's very accessible. And I would recommend the next time you go, get the pizza. Pizza is outstanding.
Yeah, I heard you talking about that on one of your previous episodes.
My mouth is watering. In segment 1, we talk about what was it like. We get into Mark's history, what happened to get Mark on the podcast. And in segment 2, we continue to talk about what happened and get into what it's like now. And we discuss Mark's 5 suggestions for thriving. So you started life in Whitewater, Wisconsin, and then you moved around a bit. What was life like moving around and growing up for Mark Bardenwerper?
Yeah, at the time I did not appreciate it. I didn't like it. I wasn't happy. I moved from Whitewater to Fort in 2nd grade, and then from Fort to Platteville, which is where I
think I do remember that.
Yeah, the connection with the Ryan family. And now I look back on it, of course, and I'm blessed. I met some amazing people there, but I wasn't happy at the time. So I spent, 8th, 9th, 10th in Platteville. Then my 11th grade year, I went to Oshkosh West for a year. My dad got a teaching gig there. that didn't last long. Then we ended up back in Fort Atkinson for my senior year. So that's kind of why I call that area home. But in hindsight, it fits with my personality, and like it made me a lot more outgoing and a stronger person, and, you know, just face challenges and be a people person. So
I think we might have to have you back on and talk about your young, because there are certainly people that listen to the podcast, not a ton of 18 and unders, but yeah, sharing those experiences of how you got through that. And rightfully so. I mean, you're probably one of the more personable people that I've met, and you're easy to get along with. And I think you probably had to develop that survival skill of walking into a new school and, hey, I can either not do anything and keep to myself, or I can introduce myself and be like who we are.
Yeah.
Tell us about your family growing up, mom, dad, siblings.
Yeah. I mean, my mom and dad got together, and she had already been married before that. And so I was lucky enough to have a brother and sister, half brother and sister. I don't consider them half. I mean, we were really close. I was in tree stands with my brother last night, hanging out by the fire after we were hunting, and talked to my sister on the phone on the way up here to tell her about this podcast. She has a blog, and so we connect on a lot of those types of things. So I was very blessed to grow up with them and get beat up by my big brother a lot, and, like, you know, be mean to my sister, like pretty typical
normal stuff.
Normal stuff. And you know, both my parents were together until I was like 10 or 12. So when we moved to Fort, they got a divorce after that. But yeah, and then there was some moving around later, obviously, like I told you about. So
yeah. Tell us about your own. You got a family of your own, an amazing wife and 3 kids.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
So when I went to Whitewater, I was sitting with my buddies from school or whoever I was with, and I looked across the walkway and everybody's moving in, and I saw this girl, and I said, man, I'm going to date her. And they laughed at me. They're like, you got no game. You're not going to date her, you know? And for whatever reason, I got really lucky. I don't know if it was divine intervention or what, but she lived on my floor.
Oh,
yeah, really lucky.
That
so
helps.
I just pursued and was relentless in my pursuit and got to know her really well.
Without stalking.
No, it wasn't creepy. I think she enjoyed most of our time together. She had an awesome family and just, you know, similar mindset. She was a college basketball player, hard worker, blue collar grind mentality, and all the things that I appreciated. So that worked out well. We got done with college and stayed together, and, you know, ended up getting married, obviously. And then I've been blessed with 3 kids. My 17-year-old daughter, Emily, and my 15-year-old son, Caleb. And then a little bit later, we're like, let's have another kid. And so now we have our daughter, Elena, who is 9, and she's a handful. She's a little bit more outspoken than the other 2. So, but they all keep me on my toes, and they definitely help me stay focused on what's important in life.
Absolutely. Kids will do that.
Yeah.
An amazing wife will help. We'll be right there by your side. You would graduate then from Fort Atkinson High School in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, and you're a proud Blackhawk. What were some of your favorite memories from your high school days?
Yeah, so senior year in Fort, I was really lucky enough to come back. I finally had gained confidence. I was a pretty quiet kid, I think. Maybe not, because now I'm kind of a loudmouth.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, and I just had confidence my senior year. One of the best decisions I ever made was when I stopped caring what other people thought about me and just started being myself. And I was lucky enough to come back and have some of my old friends there still, and just some guys that I've been friends with forever. And now, you know, I hadn't seen those guys in 20 years. We'd start doing a guys trip every summer. So that's something I look forward to now. So that Fort group was a special group of guys. So
after high school, you would take your talents to the University of Wisconsin, Whitewater, just down Highway 12?
12, yep.
Just down Highway 12. Did you have any other suitors, or did you always want to go to Whitewater?
Yeah, I when I graduated high school, I wanted to be a lawyer. So it was Madison was my top choice, and I got in. But then I had a really pretty sweet gig side job for my foster grandparents where I did some freelance typing, and then I would like house sit and do all these jobs that I could do whenever I wanted to. So some of those Fort guys were going to Whitewater. I was like, we'll do Whitewater, you know. And I think it was absolutely the right call. That's where I met my wife, and like great time there.
Warhawk.
Yeah, I enjoyed all 5 years of it. You know, I enjoyed it so much. I took the extra.
You were on the 5-year plan?
Yeah, I stretched it out. You know?
I love it. You would major in creative writing and minor in history. What did you plan to do with those degrees? Were you going to be the next Stephen King, or?
Like I said, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. Two of my good buddies from Fort were also into writing. One of them ended up in journalism and wrote for SI and just had a really cool career that way. He works for an MBA front office now, just awesome experiences. And then my other buddy became an assistant professor and did all these cool things. And then I became a teacher. So I'm glad I did. I ended up in the right place through kind of a roundabout way. But I loved writing in high school. I really enjoyed poetry and stories and yeah.
You would start your professional career then in the Milwaukee area, and I believe it was the Milwaukee School District.
Yeah.
And you would eventually then wind up in Watertown, where you've been for the last 20 years. What have been some of your favorite kind of stories, memories of starting out and then kind of in between here and then?
Yeah. So when I graduated, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was working in hospitality and I got offered a job at a pretty prestigious golf course to be a bar manager. And it was either that or go to grad school for an emergency licensure program in special education in the inner city. And my friend Jake and I were let's do this. This is going to be a cool experience. And we did it. We lived together. He was a Marine, so he had a little bit tougher mindset than I did. And I thank him for helping me get through that. This is the first year teaching, incredibly tough. You're an educator, and it was especially tough in the inner city, but it made me such a better person and better at handling the adversity that I see now. I work in special education, and when I have a bad day there, I'm just grateful for how awesome our staff is and for the toughness that created in me.
Yeah, 20 years. How many years is it total then in education for you?
Yeah, 2 years in Milwaukee and then 20 years in Watertown. So I bleed blue now. That's why I'm wearing the blue shirt.
Yeah, I like it.
It's not as pretty, pretty as purple, but
we're missing the Gosling.
Yeah, I thought about that. I got about 5 Watertown shirts in my car.
No way, really?
Oh yeah, big surprise. Most of the drawer. You know how it is.
Because our listeners want to hear the rest of your story and what brought you to the podcast, because it's extraordinary. It's inspiring, and I was actually a part of it, which I'm going to share kind of a little quip or a little story. I need to talk about our sponsor one more time. Buck and Honey's has been with the Survive and Thrive 8791 crew since the beginning, with 4 locations in the Madison area. One is always near. People ask why Buck and Honey's. Owner Tom Anderson places a high priority on the mental health of his employees. He has a mental health professional available for them should they need support. I don't know how many businesses go above and beyond their EAP, Employee Assistance Program, but Buck and Honey's does. At age 36, and I consider that young because my daughter is closing in on 36, Mark Bardenwerper starts feeling crummy, having some acid reflux, he thinks. Not much for doctors in terms of his mental attitude. You end up walking into a local walk-in clinic and you're diagnosed with acid reflux. That would eventually turn out to be something much, much worse. Mark Bardenwerper is here today to share his story and what it's like to get the abrupt health scare of his life. Please stay tuned. Don't change that channel. You're not going to want to miss segment 2 of Survive and Thrive 8791. We will be back.
If you, a loved one, or someone you know is experiencing a physical, mental, or emotional crisis, there is help and resources out there. Contact NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness Helpline, at 1-800-950-6264. This is a free service providing information, resource referrals, and support to people living with a mental illness, their family, providers, and the public. United Way 211 is available 24/7, 365 and offers free confidential assistance. They connect people with the local programs and services that can help. Dial 211. Emergency Crisis Services, dial 911. The Suicide Prevention Lifeline, dial 988. To connect via web, chat, visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Along with those numbers, there is help. You just need to say 3 words. I need help. Now, back to the show.
We are back. Welcome back to segment 2 of Survive and Thrive 8791. I'm your host, Coach Tim DeCora. We are in the Buck and Honey's remote studios on the east side of our great capital city of Madison, Wisconsin. The podcast is where we feature guests who share their story in hopes of helping others who may be struggling with what life throws at them. Today, I'm glad to be joined in the Buck and Honey's remote studios by high school teacher and coach Mark Bardenwerper. He's here to share his story and what it's like to go through a serious health scare. To paint the picture here, at age 36, you start to experience some symptoms that have you concerned. You were a self-proclaimed, quote, I am not much for doctors, quote, kind of guy. As a member of the same educational leadership cohort, which we talked about earlier, Concordia University of Wisconsin, I was with you, I believe, somewhere on the front end of some of your health issues. And I remember one time we're sitting in class and getting ready for one of our classes, and you walked in and you were talking about eating I believe it was like a Quick Trip or a gas station burrito.
Quick Trip, man.
By the way, which I absolutely love.
They're so good.
I won't eat them anymore, but yeah. I absolutely love
those. You gotta
those.
stick with Buck and Honeys.
And I gotta stick with Buck and Honeys. But you're complaining about, oh man, I just. And actually, I look back on it in hindsight, my little radars were going off a little bit. But I think you painted it as, it's not much. I've got this acid reflux. And as we look back on it, it was probably a prelude to eventually something bigger. So tell our listeners, kind of where it started. I'm going to let you rip here for as long as you need to. About what you were experiencing.
Yeah. So the first memory I have of this, I was lucky enough to somehow make it to being one of the head wrestling coaches at Watertown High School and helping build a program with some really incredible, amazing men who have taught me a lot. But I was working out really hard with the guys. I would train with them, and it was just a fun, awesome experience to be with these elite high school athletes. And one day we were finishing up, and I just felt really bad, like not just tired, but like somebody had put a hammer into my chest. And I thought of, the Puker Hills that I ran at Platteville and things like that. And I'm like, this is what you're supposed to do when you're tired. You're supposed to feel cruddy, and then you get stronger tomorrow. And I remember my buddy Nick at the time, he was coaching with me. He was like, we're kind of giving each other crap. Like, yeah, you're getting old, coach, you're getting old. So I just thought that's all it was. And then years, a little bit later down the road, the following year, I think it was when the stuff started getting really bad. Yes. So like that what you saw in class was probably the start of that. And like things like jumping on the trampoline with my daughter, I was like, oh man. So I finally went in because I wasn't against doctors. I just know I was training. I was in good shape. I eat fairly healthy.
Why do I need to go see a doctor?
Yeah, and there was definitely a family history there, and I wish at the time I had known how severe that was. My aunt had surgery, and I'm really close with my aunt, and so I should have, obviously been on top of it a little bit more. But I kept I went into the walk-in clinic, and they told me acid reflux, and then I went into my local doctor at the time. And she was like, oh, yeah, there's no way. She did a bunch of tests and stuff like that, but not like the thorough testing that it would have required to check in on things like that. So sitting in a tree stand, shoot a deer, my brother's there, we get out of the tree stand, and I'm more physically active. I'm like wrestling coach, right? I'm like, man, I can't even get up and down the hills and stuff. And then the following gun season, I'm out. My father-in-law's with me, he's an older gentleman, and he's like looking at me like, why are you stopping in the middle of a field? I'm like, it's this acid reflux. And my wife's family is incredible. I really married up there. She's amazing, and her family is amazing. And they talked to her cousin, who's a cardiac nurse, and she's like, yeah, you need to get in. So I was like, okay, sure. Yeah, I'll do that. So I drove home 2 hours, had my boy with me in the car. I'm like, hey, we're going to swing up to the hospital just in case to get check this out. The ER doc was a UW guy, and he's like, bro, yeah, I don't like this. And he ran something on my neck. I don't know. Obviously, some of this is a little hazy, but there's moments that I remember very vividly looking at my son in the chair and being like, man, because I knew what was coming, and he's like, yeah, we're going to Medflight you. So my wife was at
not the kind of helicopter ride you want.
No, but I enjoyed it.
Need it.
I enjoyed it because there was some high moments there and some laughs. But I looked at my son. I go, Ma's going to come get you. I got to go for some follow-ups. And so he didn't know what that meant. So I called her, and she's at a baby shower, I think at my cousin's or something. I'm like, hey, I got to go up to Madison. I didn't tell her I was flying for some follow-ups. Can you come pick Caleb up? She's like, this seems weird. So she pulls up to Watertown Hospital and sees the chopper landing. And like, then she's like, whoa, I think I figured this out, and so they flew me up to UW, and that's when we kind of figured everything out. But
since the show has a mental health component to it, you were nervous. And when I've had people come on and talk about, I was feeling blue, I was worried, I was concerned. When people say I was nervous, that essentially tells me there's some anxiety involved. What were some of the things besides your condition? Your condition has you anxious, but what else was concerning you most? I mean, you probably already kind of touched on it with your son.
Yeah. Oh man, so my family is everything to me. They drive me to be better. We had a baby daughter at the time. She was not even a year old. So that, obviously there's that. And my son who's literally staring at me while I'm in the hospital bed. I didn't really think about it before, but it came out because we were talking earlier before the podcast started about my family background and just some mental health issues my mom had over the years and such. Rest in peace. I kept thinking about like, why am I feeling some of these things and all this? And then to have the physical shock, I've gotten pretty good, and I think it's a fairly healthy way to do it. I don't know, some people might disagree with me, but I use humor when I'm nervous. So like we got in the chopper flying up, I see a guy in blaze orange down in the tree stand, and I'm like, oh man, I'm a little jealous of that guy now.
I wish that was me.
Yeah, because that was me like 12 hours before that or whatever, and just it was just a surreal experience. I just was cracking jokes the whole time and just deflecting and whatever. They got my legs up on the table. I'm cracking jokes with the nurses about this is why I don't party in Madison anymore. And I don't know. It was a weird thing to go through.
Well, I mentioned this earlier too when we were talking. I said I give you a tremendous amount of credit and courage to come on the episode today to talk about something that men don't do enough of, and that's talking about your feelings or our feelings in general. And not many men go to the doctor like you did.
Yeah.
I know that just from hearing you talk, it had to be pretty serious when you're driving yourself to the local walk-in clinic, and then you have enough wherewithal to make it not as big a deal as because you're trying to protect your son, and maybe you're trying to protect your wife, and maybe, so to speak, yourself a little bit. But again, I give you a tremendous amount of courage and credit talking about that. Who were you leaning on then after the helicopter? Talk about the helicopter when you got there in Madison. Talk a little bit more about what happened when you got there.
Yeah. So they just started running all kinds of tests on me. It was right around Thanksgiving time. I know my sister-in-law was there, my in-laws, my dad popped up. One of my buddies from high school came, and it meant a lot. Friends from college. I felt really blessed. I had started this wrestling club in town, and one of my, at the time, fairly new buddies, I called him. He's like, I got you, and then I call work to my friend Julie, who's started the year before me, and I was like, hey, I'm in some trouble here. And I got choked up.
Do we have to bail you out? That kind of trouble?
Yeah, right. No, that's right. She's probably, what are you doing in Madison, you idiot? No, I that was hard. Those were hard conversations to have because I don't like asking for help. But to just know, like, and that's part of the reason why I've stayed in Watertown so long. There's just so many great people who are like, we grind, we struggle, and then we thrive, right? So I was just very blessed and to have those people in my life and to have them to lean on. My wife is an absolute rock. Like, she's so tough. It's just awesome because I know that was really hard for her.
So you talked about just something you did was you asked for help.
Yeah.
And all of these people, an assistant coach yours, somebody in your department, everybody's going to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
And that's the point I try to get across to people that I'm working with, that I talk about on the podcast is when somebody asks you, Mark, can you help me with this?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You're going to help them. You're going to do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
And not enough of us earlier in life did that. And it's amazing that when people are asked for help, they'll do anything for coworker, friend, relative. And I think sometimes people don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But in your case, that wasn't the case. They did.
Yeah. No, I think of my dad. He just got out of the hospital. He had like kind of a surprise surgery pop up. And I'm like, do I need to pick you up? He's like, yeah, just make sure you bring the Sawzall. I got to do some work on the church. I'm like, you're literally in the hospital right now, man. What are you doing? But he was there. Like I remember my brother and dad being there. I was working on our kitchen at the time at our old house. We were rebuilding the kitchen as this whole heart thing's happening. So there was some stressors in there, but I got a good team. So
let's talk about it. Thanksgiving 2016, you had a lot to be thankful for, not just for the time off of school and being with family for the holiday. What occurred during that time besides the time off? Talk about that.
Yeah, so that's like after the Medflights and stuff, I triple bypass heart surgery. I was kind of bitter at the time because I kept thinking to myself, like, I knew there was some of this family history. I'm like, I've never smoked, probably had a few too many beers over the years. I eat really healthy. I don't eat a lot of red meat because I knew, cholesterol, you can't have all the red meat, right? That's what the doctors tell you. And I had this team of doctors around me that were pretty great. And they're like, this is like 95% genetics. Like there's not a lot you could have done about it. And that just made me feel good because I'm here, I'm working out all the time and trying to be healthy. But that was where the bitterness came in. I'm seeing all these people not taking care of themselves, but that went away really quickly when I thought about deeper, like, be grateful you're in this great country that has this amazing opportunity here where they can fix something like that and perform the surgery and have this great team around me. And then hopefully, be able to spread the message like we are today and that like, hey, go get yourself checked out or maybe pay a little bit more attention to what you eat and that kind of thing. And then just the mental health side of it is like something that we just don't talk about, I'm sure we've referenced that before. But,
You're the second guy that I've had on talk about the heart issue. And the first guy was a colleague of mine and kind of still is. And he had what he called the Widowmaker. 100% blockage. And then that eventually would lead to his siblings going in to get checked out. So did your heart issue have an impact on your siblings and their health? Because you just talked about it, genetics.
Yeah. I don't know if directly we're really close. So we talk about all these things. We're having a history of mental health in our family. We talk about those things. I've kind of just tried to, like, every time somebody tells me they're worried about something, I'm like, well, just so you know, like, there's nothing wrong with this or that or getting it checked out. I used to be kind of against medication because I know Americans use way too much medication. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of against that. But then when I learned more about it, I got a buddy who's a pharmacist, and now I text him every time they want to do something. Like, hey, tell me the truth. Tell me the truth about this. There's nothing wrong with taking a small dose statin. I have my high school daughters on it because it's just like preventative. Unfortunately, if you have these genetic issues, like, you got to do that. I also had some arterial issues because of, I don't understand the science behind it. To be honest, I was in a hospital bed under the influence of a lot of drugs, so I don't remember everything they told me. But, and I just kind of keep looking forward and like, how can, if something comes up, I'm going to bring it up. Just like going to a lot of different high schools. So whenever a new kid comes into the building, I'm like, hey, I've been through that, man. Like, I can't relate I don't know exactly what you're going through, but if you want to talk, let's talk. So yeah, I look forward to those opportunities.
So with the heart issue that you had back in 2014, 15, 16, and then you would go in and get that worked on and essentially fixed. They put you back together. Are there more doctor visits? Were there more doctor visits than the average person? Because if there's somebody who's listening right now because their husband, brother, a male in their life is going through some of these hard things and they want to share your story with them to get them the help they need. Once you had that surgery, were there more visits to the doctor? Yeah,
and so this is the part I was telling you. I haven't really told my family. I talked to them about it recently because I didn't want them to worry, but there's this heart failure component of it because I had heart attacks. Probably not the burrito day.
Not the burrito
but
day.
I remember sitting in a math class, like, sweating profusely and being like, okay, this isn't right. There's some damage in there. So my heart doesn't work quite as good. So as a result, my ejection fraction is not quite as strong, its ability to pump. Like I said, I still feel like I can move around pretty good, but they test it yearly now. It was very regularly at the beginning, like where I was getting all kinds of tests and scans every 3 months. Then it was every 6 months. They recently put me through a whole gamut of testing, MRIs. I go up to UW for those like every other year, and then I take a run out on the point, out to the, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Just so that I can prove to myself, like, yeah, I don't need anything special. I'm a blessed person to be able to still do this, and to bounce back from it. So, but yeah, there's a lot of that for sure.
Well, I'm glad that your path and my path have crossed way back in 2015 with that cohort leadership, educational leadership at Concordia University of Wisconsin. And I would say that we've remained friends with text messaging, and you're in Wanakee for wrestling. Hey, are you around?
Yeah.
Dude, didn't I tell you I moved to Madison? And so I've really enjoyed our relationship, and I'm glad things have panned out for you, because it was, sounding a little creepy and a little eerie that, man, are you serious? This guy? Yeah, no way. So what is Mark Bardenwerper doing now?
I'm still coaching wrestling. I'm still at the same school. I love what I do. I'm lucky to have great people in our building who really care about kids, and I learn more from the kids than I think they learn from me, that's for sure. I'm also lucky enough this year, I coach in softball again for my little daughter. I started coaching golf this year. My older daughter got into golf, so I'm doing that. My son golfs. So I'll be coaching both boys and girls golf, and then coaching wrestling, and spend a lot of time doing that kind of stuff. And then just spending as much time with my family as I can, fishing, hunting together, just doing as much stuff as we can together. So
when I say retirement, what does that mean to you?
I'm going to work for another 10 or 12 years, and then I'm hoping to be somewhere in the woods or by some water, sharing. Hopefully my kids still want to hang around with me at that point, because they'll be, adults doing their own thing. They're already going off to college and looking at that kind of stuff. Although my little one will just be a senior-ish, right around there, so we'll still have that. But I just want to relax, and I don't know, I'll probably have some side gig that I do, landscaping or something like that. Stay busy, coaching probably still.
Stay busy.
Yeah.
Keep the mind busy, keep the body busy.
Definitely.
Going forward. This is where the subscribers, followers, and listeners take out the notebooks, pens, and pencils and jot some things down. Here are Mark Bardenwerper's 5 suggestions that have allowed him to survive and thrive through life and through a major heart issue. Here is what you shared, and I'm going to have you hit each of these in 60 seconds or less. I'm going to toss these in underhand softball style. Can you hit a softball? There's a little hesitation.
I've hit a lot of softballs to a lot of really great athletes, so I think I can handle hitting a softball.
All right. Here's what you shared with us, and I'm going to toss these in underhand softball style. Number 1, reflect daily on what you have to be grateful for. Gratitude is such a powerful thing. Go ahead and hit that.
Yeah, gratitude and prayer. I try to start the day with it. I try to finish the day with it, and that's coming from people who are a lot smarter than me. A guy I've gotten to know, luckily, over the years, Ben Askren, went through something pretty tough. Recently, he's an inspirational guy. He talks about gratitude all the time. The guys that I've learned the most from in Watertown, we're just like, that's where we're at. Our mindset is there.
Number 2, get educated about what you can do both mentally and physically. You control your life, and it has to come from within. Keep working hard and have a growth mindset. Go and hit that.
Yeah, definitely. You got to know your body. You got to trust what you know about your body. I've had those conversations now, especially with my doctors. I think Coach Ryan was the one who says, what's next, right? Like that mindset of, hey, I have this. Okay, cool. How hard can I push myself? How much running can I do? That's kind of like where I'm at.
Number 3, lean on your loved ones and those who need you. Nothing is stronger than making someone else's life better. If you are a person of faith, lean into it. Go and hit that.
Lean on people, lean on God, if that's what you're into, or whatever sort of higher sense you have, whatever calling you have, to each his own. But I just feel like people and like helping others. So I lean on people, and then that way when I need to ask for help, I got to be able to do that. I'm not so great at that yet. I'm getting better at it.
Same here. Number 4, get second opinions and speak up. It's your body, and no one knows it better than you. Go ahead and hit that.
Yeah, going back to the doctor thing, I unfortunately didn't have good success with the first couple doctors that I went to, but I feel like it's like I've had really good luck with my auto mechanics over the years. I'll just put it that way. I think you got to get in a second opinion. I know some people are going through some health stuff right now. My mother-in-law, I was like, hey, make sure you ask another person. My father-in-law, whoever it is that we're talking to, it's like, yeah, they're not always right. Ask other people. Get 5 opinions if you need to.
It's amazing. I think some people spend more time taking care of their cars than they do taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
We should put more or just as much into ourselves as our cars.
How many times have you heard as a coach, the sport is 90% mental, right? How much of our time do we actually spend on the mental part of the game versus the X's and O's, And I feel like life's that way too.
Absolutely. And lastly, number 5, have a higher purpose and know your why. You have a mission statement and a set of values that allow you to trust the process most days. Go ahead and hit that.
Yeah. One of the guys I've taught with from Fort, who I really get along with well, we do a mission statement for our class, this guy named Tom. And so he wrote this mission statement. I was like, I like that. We do bucket lists. I like that. So it's just so that every day when it gets tough, I look down on my computer. I got it posted there. I got it posted on my little cabinet next to my bed. It's about the things I believe in: family, make people's lives better, smile a lot, be patient, those kinds of things.
Trust the process. I love it. What an episode. I'm so glad you could join the Survive and Thrive 8791 crew today. Your story and how you managed to work through a major heart issue is inspiring. It is. Your story reminds us all to have coping skills or mental health tools in the toolbox and get things checked out when a person is met with the physical challenges of life. And despite that, you have survived and thrived. Our call to action: Mark Bardenwerper just shared his story about how he had to battle through a heart issue at an early age, 36. He has endured and persevered. Here are Mark Bardenwerper's 5 suggestions that helped him survive and thrive. Number 1, reflect on what you have to be grateful for. Number 2, get educated about what you can do both mentally and physically. Number 3, lean on your loved ones and those who need you. Nothing is stronger than making someone else's life better. Number 4, get second opinions and speak up. And number 5, have a higher purpose and know your why. Final thoughts as we close another great episode of Survive and Thrive 8791. Are there any final thoughts, Mark Bardenwerper?
No, man, just keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate this. I've listened to a couple of the podcasts now and I've really enjoyed it. And I'm definitely going to send the word out to other people because I think it's important, there's enough negative things happening right now with people. I don't know why people feel like we got to be so divided. We have a lot more in common. I think, like, as I got to know you, I remember we did that one project on poverty and education. And you start to realize how much we all have in common. Even somebody who looks and acts and feels and is different, like, let's grasp onto that and just keep trying to work together. So I appreciate what you do, man.
Aerosmith said, come together. If we can do that,
there you go.
If we can do that, that would be great. On our next episode of Survive and Thrive 8791, we will have another amazing guest in the Buck and Honey's remote studios who will share how they learned to survive and thrive. If you have a story to share or you know someone who does, please reach out to me at tdecora@gmail.com. Until next time, hang in there with whatever you happen to be going through. And with hard work, dedication, and determination, you can survive and thrive. Until next time, take care.